Hello, and welcome, Falcher, to our Dementia Through Our Eyes launch here at World Alzheimer's Day. Welcome for those of you who are tuning in live. This has been broadcast on the Science Katie Facebook and Twitter account, and it will also be available on Catch Up afterwards for those of you who can't join for all of us. So for those of you catching up in the future, welcome as well. It's my pleasure. My name is Lewis Hu. I'm part of the Science Ceilidh, and we've been supporting and working with the Scottish Dementia Alumni on a new resource, which you're going to hear directly from Martin, who is one of the members, about here today, alongside a few other people involved through this process. We'd love to hear from you if you're watching. If you've got any questions, please do let us know in the chat. If you would like to see this using subtitles, we recommend you go to the Science Ceilidh Facebook version of this rather than the Twitter version, and you'll be able to access the automatic captions through that if that is suitable for you. So, what is the resource about? Well, we've got some of the alumni and involved. We've got Martin, who I'm going to bring on very glamorously over here. Hello, Martin. How are you doing?
Fine, thank you. Yep.
Brilliant.
Ready to go.
And we have the facilitator, Paula, or Mother Hen, otherwise known as, of the alumni here as well.
Hello.
So great to have you both on board. First off, do you mind introducing yourself? I'm going to go to Martin first. Tell us who you are, and then maybe tell us a wee bit about who the Scottish Dementia Alumni are as well.
Hi, I'm Martin. I live up near Peterhead. I've got a rare dementia, posterior cortical atrophy. That's why I close my eyes. But the Scottish Dementia Alumni are 4 independent individuals, and between us, we've probably got over 60 years of lived experience of dementia. James is the one who's been here the longest, and he called himself a dinosaur because he was diagnosed last century. But he's certainly not a dinosaur. He's well with it, and he's the editor-in-chief, if you like. He notices the wrong commas and full stops. But we came up with, I think it was actually Agnes who came up with the idea that we needed to get the younger generation more involved and understanding of dementia, especially now that more and more people are being diagnosed earlier. So the common misconception of people with dementia sitting in a corner doing nothing and not able to do anything is totally wrong. So we discussed it between ourselves what was best. And again, I think it was Agnes who thought that if we could get children to move around, that helps kind of get them physically active and just generally gets them more interested. And that should have led to multiple choice, because then they would have to run between the answers. Sorry. And I'll pass over to Paul now. Sorry.
No, it's fine. It's good. Yeah, you've set the scene already in terms of the motivation, and sadly, Agnes, Nancy, and James can't join us today, but we have some videos from them as well, so we will be hearing from them, from the alumni. Paula, do you mind introducing yourself as well?
Oh, hello. I'm Paula Brown. I'm Martin's neighbour. I also live in the sort of Peterhead area, North Scotland. I've been working with the Scottish Dementia Alumni for about 3 years now. I started working with the group just before sort of lockdowns happened, but that didn't stop anybody. Everybody kept campaigning all the way through and created some brilliant print resources, often with the enormous support from Innovations in Dementia. We'll hear from them a little bit later, and also from Life Changes Trust, which is just about closing now. The Scottish Dementia Alumni are, as Martin has said, comprise Martin, James, Agnes, and Nancy. Everybody's been living with dementia for 5 years or more, and James has been living with dementia for over 20 years, as Martin has said. Everybody has a different kind of dementia, a different experience of dementia, and everybody has different interests for campaigning. And for example, Nancy has been campaigning for many years for crops and all kinds of different things, but more recently for dementia. So I'm the facilitator, and as Martin calls me, Mother Hen. But the work of facilitator is often sort of supporting tech. It can be supporting sensory issues like providing earplugs or making sure that everybody's hydrated. It can be about transport, logistics, that kind of thing, regular meetings to keep everybody together, information. So that's really my role. But this particular project was funded by Innovations in Dementia as a research project. And the idea was that the group, the alumni group, all felt that it was really, really important to educate younger people about dementia. And the sooner, the earlier, the better. And James McKillop says, you know, that he would really want all children to grow up knowing something about dementia. So it's very important to all of the group.
Thanks so much, Paula. And I think, yeah, again, coming back to yourself, Martin, you know, I think you've already kind of started that answering this question, but yeah, what made the alumni want to create this resource for school pupils in particular?
No, I think certainly when we were children, if you like, dementia was frightening and something you never really talked about. You just had your granny in the corner sort of thing. You never really understood. But obviously it's now kind of with better diagnosis, people are being diagnosed earlier and there's more of it. And we thought that most children will know of someone, probably a relative with dementia. So we just thought we should kind of teach them in a fun way, but get them thinking about it at the same time. So we've come up with questions. We decided what the questions would be, and we had to decide on kind of the answers. They weren't always easy to think of, and to make it a bit more personal, we all came up with a fun thing about ourselves, which kind of made us more human again. And when we actually piloted it, the fact that Agnes and I were in the room, I think was fairly amazing to the children as well, to be honest.
Definitely. I think, you know, first off, you know, your comment about most young people knowing somebody with dementia and that being very common, and it's certainly in that discussion that came out quite a few times. And as you say, even that process of coming up with questions and thinking about sharing your fun facts. Martin used to polish Smarties, if I remember correctly. And then all the things that you still do whilst living with dementia, I think is such an important aspect of the project, challenging some of those stereotypes that, as you say, people living with dementia, what people might think that they may be doing or not able to do, perhaps. Paul, I wonder from just, I know we'll hear from some of the other alumni through the videos, but is there anything you want to add from their perspective or through that process?
I think that we were just at a stage with the alumni where we finished a project and we were all talking about what was really, really important to do next. So, you know, educating children was the most important thing. And coming up with the questions, as Martin said, I think everybody almost started with the answers first. What do we want children to know about dementia? What's it important for us to get across? So it's almost like the answers came first and then the questions came later. So that was a really interesting part of the process. Filming everybody was fun. Everybody was, you know, has such strong personalities, and I think it really came across in the films, you know, and the locations where we filmed everybody. It was good fun. Yeah,
absolutely. Thanks so much. And I think that was kind of, you know, we were really delighted to ask you to be involved, and we'd worked with Paula before and had met some of the alumni, never in person actually, up until actually delivering. So really good that, yeah, really pleased. And as you say, that thinking through the answers, and you know, there's lots of things that we could have went into, and what alumni wants to focus on in terms of, you know, as again, challenging those stereotypes and can you catch dementia? Things like what are people with dementia able to do? All these types of things I think is really important as a process. I think probably worth us even just sharing the resource and showing us what it looks like, just to give you, if you're watching, a sneak preview. Again, on the link itself, now on the Science Ceilidh website, you should be able to access the PowerPoint immediately from this point onwards, from today. But I also want to introduce my colleague Katie as well to talk a little bit about the resource, what's available, and if you're a teacher or educator or even youth worker who might want to use this, particularly for young people. It's aimed around upper primary age, so kind of 7 to 10, 7 to 11. So Casey is joining us. Hello, Katie. How are you doing?
Hello, nice to meet everyone, and thanks so much for everyone for tuning in. As Lewis said, I'm Katie, and I'm part of the Science Gaily team who was involved in the pilot, and kind of did a wee bit of behind the scenes getting the resource ready on the website. So I'm just going to give you a wee overview of what's kind of available on the website and how you can use the resource. So Martin's already given us a little bit of a flavour for that. The idea of they wanted it to be a really interactive resource where the pupils can be quite active with getting involved. So the way we ran it is you've got a PowerPoint that you can download, and we've got 11 questions on there. Each question's introduced by a member of the alumni who kind of give you a wee pre-recorded video of them giving you the question, and like Martin says, giving them, the pupils, a wee nugget of information about their life as they're going, which is really a lovely touch in the videos. And then this information is also reinforced with a text PowerPoint as well. So after the video, you can get the text up so people get a chance to read that. And then the pupils run to a set location of the room. Each location is meant to represent a letter, the multiple choice letters. We appreciate that this isn't always accessible and wherever you're kind of delivering the activity. So if you're in a situation where all your pupils are at desks, for example, and they can't get up and run around, you could make this quite fun by getting the pupils to sort of create their own signs and hold it up, whatever their answer is, if it's A, B, C, or D, or E. So there's lots of different formats you can run it, and we've put a couple of ideas of that on the website as well. And also on the website, we've got some supporting documents passed over to us from all the Scottish Dementia Alumni members, just of additional resources. For example, James talks about a song that he's written in one of his questions. So that song's on there for the pupils to watch if they'd like to see that after doing the activity. And yeah, so there's loads of cool stuff on there, and we've got a wee evaluation report as well that people can go on and read just about the development of the resource and where we're at now with it.
Thanks so much, Casey. And it's all linked on the website. And I think what's coming through, even just chatting to Martin and Paula today, is that process in of itself has been really important, I think, in terms of being able to, work together, work collaboratively, and deliver it. And I think there's some pictures on the website as well of the actual delivery, which was wonderful. And that was kind of collaborating with Loretto Primary School in East Lothian, where we were already doing a youth music initiative project. And actually, incredibly, I think the young people, P5s, I think we worked with, had already loads of questions about dementia that came up from an earlier in the year. And so the teacher was really supportive in helping us trial it with Martin and Agnes in person. Brilliant. So hopefully that gives a bit of an idea of what the resource is. Love and welcome any questions and comments. We've just got one come up at the moment. So I've just come up from exploring the resource and can definitely say I've learned a lot and really enjoyed meeting the project creators and hearing their stories through a fun medium. So there you go. Hopefully, even if it's designed for primary, hopefully it's informative for the teachers as well, and for other members of who just to understand a bit more about dementia. And again, if you're watching and have any other questions or any comments, please do. You should be able to comment on the Facebook or Twitter, and we'll be able to see it and pass that on. All right, so that gives a bit of a sense of what the resource is and how to access it, how to use it. Martin, I guess come back to you. What was it like delivering it in Loretto Primary?
I was very nervous, wondering how they would react, but what happened was the first couple of questions, you could see they weren't too engaged, but then after that, they would stop. They would start to run to when the letters then stop and look back at the question, and you could actually see the cogs whirling in their brain, and then they would go. Usually, it's the right one, but yeah, the kids certainly got engaged by the end of it, and they really took their time and understood it. But what really I think both Agnes and I were gobsmacked at was the depth of the questions they asked us at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Things like, does it hurt? What's it feel like? What do you think about it? Things like that. They were actually quite hard to think about and answer. They put us on the spot as much as we put them on the spot, to be honest.
100%. And I definitely, just observing, I think there's something about a quiz which makes kids, learners, quite competitive. So I think, as you say, the first few, they were kind of like, okay, this is, eases people in a little bit. And then by the end of it, everyone's like, oh my God, wants to get it right, and really thinking about it and really taking their time to really deliberate. Paula, how about from you?
I was just really struck by the collaboration and the partnership between all of the partners. I mean, we wouldn't have even been able to drive there if it wasn't for Innovations in Dementia funding it. And the absolutely wonderful use of the tech that you've provided through Science, Kaylee, your knowledge of that tech and the partnership that you already had in the school was absolutely vital to us being able to hold that session, to test it out. And I know that Nancy in particular had worries and concerns about how we were going to work in schools, because it is very difficult unless you've got that link already to find ways into the curriculum. But you already had that for us, and you were able to support us in a really natural way, so that you didn't overtake anything that anybody had already done. You just added your skills to it, which was really generous and a wonderful way to work. So we're really grateful for that. So that sense of collaboration, but also with the children, because they were definitely partnering with us to develop this research, this resource. They were showing us how their learning was progressing as they were progressing through the quiz. You can see at the beginning they were thinking, okay, so is it perhaps the best thing to do to run really fast, or am I going to benefit from being faster, or am I going to benefit from not thinking about it too much? But then they realized about halfway through, as Martin said, that it's actually, you don't have to run too fast. You can stop and think and talk about it with your colleagues, your friends, your school students, and you can actually come up with better responses that way. And I saw the confidence in the children growing throughout it as well, because at first it was sort of follow the crowd. The children were running together to one place because nobody wanted to stand out or be different or wrong. But towards the end, I don't think anybody really minded if they were wrong. They were still learning, and people were actually willing to take that risk to stand up by themselves in a corner, as I think Agnes mentions in her video. There was one particular girl who was standing all by herself, and she was actually right. So that was such a learning experience for her. Yeah.
Definitely. And Katie, have you got any observations also being part of it?
Yeah, I mean, Martin and Paul have kind of hit the nail on the head. It was just really lovely to see it growing, and the pupils just naturally taking more time to think about the questions. I think there was a really lovely moment between Agnes and one of the little girls in the class just towards the end of the session. Where, I overheard Agnes speaking to the wee girl, just asking so do you have anyone that you know with dementia and things like that. And the girl was like, no, I don't think I do. And Agnes just finished it. Well, you've met me now, so now you can tell everyone you've met someone with dementia. And it was just really lovely. We get her brightening up, oh yeah, I have, and I've got that connection now. And it was just really amazing to see that. So.
100%, yeah. And that, and I think that came up in the very beginning when we asked people if they knew as well. And I think we had loads of post-it notes. So we asked them to come up with post-it notes about questions for the alumni, and some of them were really, as you said, difficult questions for Martin, I think, and Agnes, but also some feedback and some lovely feedback. And I think we've shared some of the pictures on the website as well. But things like, just really appreciative of having the opportunity to actually meet and hear from people with dementia. I think that's such a powerful thing. And 5 stars, and said Martin and Agnes had wonderful personalities and learned lots about dementia, for example. Lots of positive feedback, which is really powerful, and lots of questions, which for me as an educator, I think that really shows this kind of engagement and thinking beyond not just the content, not just the games and engagement, but thinking about how this applies to their understanding of the world and health. And so I thought really powerful. A couple of comments come in, and then we actually do have a short clip from Agnes and from James as well. So we've got from Innovations Dementia and Deep Network, incredibly proud of everything you all do, an honor, which is lovely. Thanks for passing that on. And we also have over here. A great way to teach young people about dementia from a young age. Amazing to hear you had so many questions from the kids, from the learners as well. So thanks very much. And again, keep those questions and comments coming. This is super lovely. So I think this is a video of Agnes straight after. I think this is after your lunch, after your hard-earned lunch after your class in the day. I'm going to play it.
I thoroughly enjoyed the way the children developed into being individuals just rushing from side to side, and then seeing how they thought this is more complex, and they started to collaborate with one another and debate, which was magic to see, and then choose. And there was no rushing them, because they were standing their ground, because they were really thinking about the question and looking at the board, reminding themselves of the question, and then going. It was an amazing to see the brains working. And one wee girl stood out when she was the only one standing in the corner, which the question and the answer that she chose, and you could see her wanting to take a step forward, and then she just stood her ground proudly. And I thought, this is an amazing process to see, and I feel very privileged and can't thank the children enough to share all of that with us, because they embraced it wholeheartedly. It was wonderful.
There you go, and I think that echoes some of the comments that we've just made, and even the P5 teacher themselves emailed separately just to say how much they enjoyed the session, and how actually a lot of the young learners had talked to the parents about it, about the experience, and how appreciative a lot of the parents were about the stories and getting a chance to meet Agnes and Martin. So yeah, and we've got one more video from James, and then we'll talk a little bit about the future and how this fits into the wider work that Innovations in Dementia are doing as well. I think this is working now.
Dementia.
Well, I believe education about children should start in the cradle. So
It's okay, you can start again, it's fine.
Right, I've got it now. Well, I believe education people about dementia should start in the cradle. Now you might think, why not? But this is where to try and lead a healthy life, that you're exposed to the right sort of food and drink, and not be so exposed to the things that make you fat and unhealthy. And from that, I think then in the nursery, there should be just wee gentle things about dementia and memory loss. It's not completely dementia loss, as you know, but it might be an idea to put a wee seed in their mind. And then when they go to primary school, gradually give knowledge about dementia, because one day I hope that everybody in Scotland will have been exposed to some sort of knowledge about dementia. To try and do it now, there's too many people, too big a job. But I believe you start off at nursery and school, primary school age, everybody will have some knowledge and how to accept people and treat people.
Okay, we'll leave that there from James. But yeah, really powerful. And I think, one of the questions is, how do you communicate with someone with dementia, for example? And, again, trying to think about that kind of how best to not shout and all these types of things, and give people time, not talk to the carers. So yeah, really powerful. That's maybe a spoiler alert in terms of the quiz, but there you go. Awesome. Well, I think I want to bring in, I'm going to give Martin and Paula and Casey a bit of a rest, and we're going to talk a bit about how this fits into the wider picture, and introduce Philly from Innovations in Dementia. Hello, Philly. How are you doing?
Hello, Lewis, and thank you so much for inviting me to join you all. It's such an exciting project.
No, our pleasure, our pleasure. And I guess I really wanted to bring you in because, this is part of some of the things that you fund and support in terms of Dementia Enquirers. I guess, how does this fit into the work that you guys are doing? And why is this exciting, perhaps?
Okay, well, I'll start with a tiny bit of background.
Please do, yeah.
I'm one of the co-directors of Innovations in Dementia. I'm actually based up in the Outer Hebrides, but we're a UK-wide organisation, just a small not-for-profit organisation. And our aim is to enable people with dementia to have their voices heard and their rights recognised in a nutshell. And that's a common thread amongst all the projects that we're involved in at any time. I've actually known 3 out of the 4 alumni for at least 10 years, I think. James and Agnes and Nancy, and then Martin more recently. So I'm really delighted to be talking about this project. In terms of Innovation in Dementia's work, one of the main things that we do is to host the DEEP network, which is the UK network of dementia voices. It's actually our 10th anniversary this year. And that is a network of around 80 or so groups all across the UK, all of which are led by people with dementia, just as the alumni is. And this particular project that we're talking about today is part of our Dementia Enquirers programme. That's a 4-year programme about research, and the whole idea of the programme is to test out what it means for people with dementia, like Agnes and Martin and Nancy and James, to be in the driving seat of their own research, not just perhaps research subjects in someone else's research. So that's it's through Dementia Enquirers that we came to give the group a little bit of funding to kick their project off.
Amazing and really interesting, in terms of that ethos. And again, one of the things that Science Katie does is support the Ideas Fund, and we also are working with Deepness, for example, which is again around this core idea of being researched with and by, as opposed to for or on a community with lived experience. That's brilliant. And I guess, how does this fit into what next, and what's the bigger picture for you?
Well, I suppose the most important point for me about this project and all the other projects, we've actually, through Dementia Enquirers, there's been 24 small research projects all run by people with dementia. And in a way, the findings and the products are really important. But what's also really important is the process that those people with dementia have been through. As I said, the aim of Dementia Enquirers is that they should be in the driving seat, that they should be in the lead, which is quite an unusual place for people with dementia to be. They're often put down, and it's often assumed that they perhaps don't have many skills, or that they can't really stand up and be counted, as it were. But what's special about this project is that the alumni, they had their own idea of what was important to them. They wanted to educate children, and they had the guts really to make that happen. They wrote their own application to Dementia Enquirers. They expressed it in their own words with their own quotes. And once they'd got the funding, they went ahead and really tackled the whole project together. They're all very different, 4 very different people, but they all shared the tasks of facilitating meetings and filming and finding creative ways of working. They used technology. They collaborated through Zoom and through Google Docs, and they formed partnerships with researchers and with people like yourselves. So they've really, I think, proved how much they can do if given a little bit of support. Obviously, they had the support of Paula, but as Paula's explained, she was at their bidding. She wasn't leading. She was doing the things that they needed for them to lead. She was providing maybe the admin support or a bit of tech support or whatever, but they were in the lead. And I think what we've really seen from this group and from many of the other groups is that this kind of approach really builds confidence in people. It's so important for their self-esteem, learning new skills, or going back and re-earthing old skills. They're really a kind of a great example to so many other people with dementia, showing that it can be done. You don't have to just go with other people's agendas. You can focus on what's important to yourselves and make it happen. So that's kind of, I suppose, the main message for us that's come through the programme, and something we really want to continue to build on.
Amazing, and it's so exciting to hear. So there's so many other projects, and this fits within that kind of wider picture with Dementia Enquirers. So I'm sure that's available on your website, and we'll send a link to that so you can find out more about that. Brilliant. Well, if you do have any more questions, if you're watching, please do, and comments are very welcome. I'm going to bring in Martin again, Paula, and Katie all together. And I guess thinking about the future, and well, I'm going to come back and ask for one reflection from each of you, a tip or something you want to share with anyone who's watching. But maybe just to quickly highlight, this isn't the end for this project, certainly. And so at the moment, we're really keen to keep working with the alumni, and the alumni are really keen to spread this and share this resource widely. And so I think there's plans to potentially grow the school program and enable more schools to have access and work with the alumni and other people living with dementia, potentially developing a bit of a database of questions, because there's so many questions that come up, and again, thinking about both digital as well as in-person ways of being able to facilitate that, and then working with schools to kind of develop further some of these resources and support teachers to be able to use the resources themselves. And on that vein, we actually have a comment. Thank you so much, Lorraine, for watching. So an excellent resource. We need it in England. I'm going to use it with my youngest grandsons and anywhere else I can. I'm starting a new group tomorrow, so that will be on the future agenda. So there we go. We're already making headways. Thank you so much. And obviously, we've tied this a little bit to the Scottish curriculum, but at the same time, there's no reason why that is exclusive to that. And we'd love to see it being used anywhere, I'm sure. All right, so Martin, any reflections? Come to you. Oh, hold on.
Oh,
sorry, Martin. Try that again.
I'm amazed at how professional it's become, and how well teams gel together, and I just hope that kind of private schools will think to use it as well, not just kind of the state schools.
Mm-hmm.
So, kind of, because having been to a private school that not into this, but they should be, and I would like to see them use that as a resource as well.
Fantastic. Thanks, Martin. Paula?
I'd just like to say thank you to all of the collaborators, absolutely everybody who's been part of this. It's been a really wonderful process to support through. And I would also say that if you have dementia and you have an idea, please gather your team around you and just do it, because you have the skills. If you just pull your friends in close to you, you'll be able to do whatever you want.
I say give us wings and we will fly.
Exactly. And how have you flown? Katie, any reflections from you?
Yeah, it's just been a really great project to be involved in. I came in quite late to the process, but we're kind of looking at moving forward and, like Lewis has said, like developing it a bit more with the alumni. We're looking at bringing in some more partners and things like that. So if you're a primary school out there and you'd like us to potentially pilot this in your school as well, maybe reach out to us and we'll see if we can make that happen. In the future, we'd be really keen to work with more people. So yeah, I'm just excited to see what else happens with the resource.
Philly?
I suppose the message from me is kind of very broad. I'd like to aim at anyone who works in the dementia field or sector or whatever ghastly term you like to call it, in the dementia world maybe, or with people with dementia. I'd say never ever do any piece of work or any project without working alongside people with dementia, because that will make a huge difference. It will make all the difference to the work that you do.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. And then finally, just to round ourselves off, how can people find out more? Philly, what's the best way for people to get in touch with Innovations in Dementia?
We have a website called innovationsindementia.org. So not too hard to remember, and you can find out all about our work there.
Fantastic. And then Martin and Paula, how can people get in touch with the Scottish Dementia Alumni?
I'll pass on to Paula. Sorry.
Thank you. Well, we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram. We have a website page on the Innovations in Dementia website as part of one of the deep groups. And we've also got our links for this project on your Science Cayley website, sciencecayley.com.
Thank you very much. Sponsored. Brilliant. Okay, well, we'll round off there. Thank you so much for everyone who's been watching. And again, if you're catching this up, feel free to still add comments. We'd love to see them and get in touch and enjoy the resource and let us know how you get on. And thank you once again to Philly, to Paula, to Katie, and to Martin for joining us here today. And of course, Agnes, James, and Nancy as well. Take care.
Thank you.